Okay, welcome everyone to this She Shakes the World interview. I have the most amazing Nichole Clarke here with me. I'm Rachel Waite, by the way, founder of the She Shakes the World movement, and this is the She Shakes the World interview series, and it's all about highlighting incredible women and sharing their stories about how they are shaking the world right now, how they are impacting the world, and they're generously, should I say, sharing their real and their raw stories with you. And I believe if you're listening to these, then there's something that you are meant to be hearing in listening to these interviews. And Nichole has one of the most heartbreaking but powerful stories to share with you. And if I can get through this interview without crying, then I will be impressed. But it's such a heartwarming story. And let me introduce you to Nichole. She is first and foremost a wife and mother. She and her husband Nate have been married for 19 years, and they have 6 children together. But in August 2020, they experienced the biggest trauma any parents can. They lost their precious baby girl, Emberly Joy, to a pool accident. And soon after that, Nichole discovered that she could communicate with her daughter. And she has since written a book together with Emberly, which she's planning on publishing on the anniversary of her death this August in 2022. Is that right, Nichole? Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here. And sharing your story with me and with the people that are listening. I can't imagine, Nichole, what you have been through these past 18 months. And I've followed your journey and I've seen your strength, and it's incredible. But would you be okay sharing, tell us your journey into, that moment where you so sadly lost Emberly, to the point where now you've been able to write this book, co-create this book actually with Emberly herself. Please just share that journey with us and with the listeners, as I'm sure many people would love to hear this story.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm excited. I'm just feeling very blessed and overwhelmed with gratitude. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm already crying.
I knew
Whenever people
it's
want
okay.
to hear my story, it's just
Yeah.
overwhelming, and I'm very grateful
Mm-hmm.
because I know that it happened for me and not to me.
That's
And
amazing.
my story starts several years before Emberly was even born, when my dad passed away suddenly and unexpectedly. I had been living a life on autopilot, thinking that I was happy and fulfilled, but really feeling massive amounts of void in my life. And anytime we go through tragedy, it wakes us up and prompts us and is a catalyst to asking hard questions like, what's the point of life? Why am I here? What am I doing? Like, am I truly happy? If I died tomorrow or today, would I be okay with that? Like, would I be okay with what I'm leaving behind? And I feel like death is always a very good opportunity to look at our lives and make decisions and make changes. And so when my dad passed away in 2017, that was unexpected and just instantaneous, like a heart attack, get the news, and it's wow. And I started that day on a personal journey of personal development, researching happiness, researching all sorts of things. So about 2 years later, I published my first book, the 10-minute refresh for moms. And in there, it's just like 10 little things that help stressed out, overwhelmed moms, which is what I was for so
Yeah.
many years, like putting my family first, putting everyone and everything above myself, and never nurturing myself, never feeding my soul or doing the things that lit me up. And as a result, I was showing up like angry mom and overwhelmed and hangry all the time, and blaming everybody else for the way I felt. So that book was amazing. It changed my life. And then I started creating a course that went along with it, and had all these things that I was just so passionate about and so excited to share, and really felt like I had arrived. I felt like I know it now. I can do it. I can do whatever. And let me just tell you, the day I finished recording my whole course that went along with that book, the next day, the day after I finished recording, I was getting ready to like figure out how to market it and get it out there, and change massive amounts of lives. And then that next day, my daughter died. And the timing of it just seemed surreal. Like, you're never ready. You're never prepared, especially for something like drowning in a pool in our backyard. You know, I had unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, but I'm actually grateful for this time now. But during her whole life, and even before Emberly was born, I had many premonitions. I had a massive, horrible nightmare that just kept recurring. And it was
Really
always that
good.
one of my children was going to drown, and
Mm.
that my husband and I would get divorced because I would blame him for it because he was the one that wanted water on our property. And it was just this whole like, I don't know, just this perpetual nightmare that I just kept living in my mind. And I hated it. I hated that dream. And I wrote about it in my first book before Emberly was even like born. Okay.
Wow.
And then to have it actually happen, it was kind of neat because I was able to prepare in ways that most parents who lose a child aren't prepared.
Yeah.
And because I had learned so many healing tools, and because I had already learned inner healing work and done a lot of shadow work and done a lot of things that most people haven't even heard of before, I've been able to take this death experience with literally my worst nightmare coming true and turn it into something that I believe will absolutely change so many lives for the
Yeah.
better.
That's,
And
I feel that.
well, it's been difficult and hard, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy or anyone.
Hmm.
I know that it happened for me for a reason.
Yes.
And I've since come to understand. Soon after she died, I started having conversations with her. I went to a psychic medium, and she told me that Emberly and I had um, made some kind of contract before we came here. And I was actually a psychic medium or a channel, and that I needed to start developing these gifts by communicating with my daughter and writing a book with her. And I was like, what? I had never planned on writing another book in my life. I never planned on writing the first one. I was never one of those people that was like, I'm going to write a book and be an author. Like, I wasn't. And now I am full-heartedly. But this book
How
with
did that go
Emily,
about then? How did you suddenly go about creating? Tell us. I love the name of this book, by the way, but I'd love for you to share the name with us. So tell us
yeah.
the name of the book and how it came about. How did you start writing the book?
Well, like 2 or 3 weeks after Emberly passed, I went to a friend who I knew was a psychic medium, and she told me that what I just told you, that I was supposed to be writing a book. I had no idea how, but she just said, start recording all your feelings, all your thoughts, everything you're going through. And so I did. And I had actually, as another weird way of preparing for this death, I had been weirdly drawn to a whole bunch of women that had lost kids, and I'd interviewed them in the series before, like for my other stuff, and
Yes.
I knew what they had already gone through, so I had that in my back of my mind as well, like that I wish that a lot of them would have written or expressed these feelings from the get-go. So like I knew that that would be very beneficial for a lot of people that were going through death and loss and like hard tragedies.
Yeah.
So I wasn't afraid to just bare my soul. So the beginning of this book is literally like my journal, like me just feeling it all out and explaining my background and things that I had learned. And then I started having conversations, and I would ask Emberly, I would just get on my computer every morning. I would
Okay.
meditate and get in a state of, like they call it automatic writing, or get in a state of flow or alignment, and ask her questions. I would type a question, and I literally swear that she would take over my fingers and type the answers. And it was overwhelming and mind-blowing. Like a lot of the things that she was teaching me and telling me were things that were very paradigm shifting for me,
Mm.
very uncomfortable for me.
Yes.
I
So
come
did
from
it
a
help
very religious background, and
you?
a lot of the things that she was telling me were opposite of what I've been taught. What were you going to say?
I
Sorry.
was going to ask you if this helped you heal, if this helped you, talking to Emberly helped you grow. It sounds like it really helped you massively grow.
Oh, 100%. In fact, when I sent it to the editor, I didn't realize what the book was about. I just knew that it was conversations with my daughter, and that she answered all of life's hard questions, like why are we here? Why do good things happen, or good horrible things happen to good people. Who is God? Do we need Jesus? Do we like need religion in our lives? Like everything, like, because I came from a super religious background. I left the church before Emberly died, but it was still like really haunting me and really hard for me to do.
Mm.
Um, and so she was answering all the questions that I still had about that, all the doubts and all those fears. And it was mind blowing. But my editor, she said, like, it's a long book, like
I'm
really
reading
long.
it. I cannot wait. What from what you're saying, like I was going to ask you who this book is for, and just from what you're saying, it's who would you say it is for? Anybody?
Anyone who has experienced hardship or
Mm,
loss or is feeling a lot of pain, who's feeling stuck, people who are questioning their worth, questioning what the point is, people that are just struggling and stuck
yeah,
and want answers.
and it sounds like you've got the answer, and Emberly was able to bring you these answers.
Yeah, and it might not be the answer for everyone, but for me it has absolutely been. And my editor said that, like, when I sent her the book, I was like, this is really long, we might want to like cut it up into different, like a series and have topics, or we might just want to do like book 1, book 2, book 3, because it's a lot longer than they suggest for a normal book. And she was like, okay, I'll read it with that intention.
Mm,
And she got back to me after reading it, and it only took her like a week or two because she was just like, I couldn't put it down. And then she said, we have to keep it together because the main thrust of the book is seeing your transformation from the beginning to the end.
wow.
And people need to witness that in its wholeness, not have it cut up. And I was like, I didn't know that, because I didn't know that that's what people were seeing when they read it.
Yeah. And do you
Because I
feel
wasn't feeling
like
that.
what I'm feeling from what you're saying is that if someone's going through a hard time right now, that if they pick up this book, this is also, I feel like this is also going to, as they read it, it's going to shift for them, and they're going to transform as they read the book.
I hope so. If
Mm.
they have to be ready for the truths that are there, and some of them are very hard to accept. Yeah, but yeah, it absolutely has power behind the things that she has taught that are absolutely life transformational. Like, change is going to happen if you
Yeah.
read it and if you embrace what she teaches.
And tell us the name of the book.
Oh my goodness, that one was another one. Like, after my editor got back to me after the first reading, she was like, we need to make sure that this is not just for grieving parents. When
Yes.
you name this book, make sure it's more of a universal spirituality type theme. And she's like, Emberly refers to where she is as all that is, over and over in the book. She doesn't call it heaven. She doesn't call it afterlife or the normal things that we'd heard of. She refers to it as God, and everything is all that is. And so the editor suggested maybe something like returning to all that is, because Emberly returned and now you're returning through her words. And I was like, okay, so we kept that in the back of our minds. And then, long story short, in November, I felt called at a soul level to go to a darkness retreat.
I
And I
remember this.
spent 10 days.
Before you even talk about it, I just want to tell the listeners. I remember seeing Nicole's post saying that she just come out of this darkness. You just come out of this darkness retreat where you literally spent, was it 10 days on your own in a cave. And I was like, this woman is incredible. How on earth did she find the strength? And when I think about that, I just think fear. Like, but I can see how it must have been so healing. But to find the strength and the courage to put yourself through that for 10 days, I just want you to know how amazingly strong you were to be able to do that. Um,
It's
but tell us about that. So you
not
just
for
had this
everyone.
call. No, I can imagine. But you had this calling. You knew that this was, you had to go and do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Soul was just screaming, you got to go. And I think, like you said, the first thing that comes up for most people is fear.
yeah.
And for me, it was peace. For me, it was, I'm not afraid of silence anymore. And I think so many of us run from silence because we're afraid of our own thoughts, and we don't like feeling uncomfortable with what we're thinking, what the wheels in our minds won't stop turning. We can't sleep because of it. But I have learned through years of meditation and just going within that that is the most peaceful place on earth.
Mm.
And when we can attach and align with silence and with just being alone and being present to this very moment over and over and over, because that's in the dark room. You really have to like be present all the time. There's no like looking forward. Well, I was looking forward to my meals every day, like when's it gonna come? That's like the only thing, the only way you knew of any kind of sort of time, because we're so attached to time as humans.
Mm.
And so going there was like detaching from time, detaching from interactions with anybody else, no source of light, no source of communication with other humans, like nothing. And you ask people to take their phone away for an hour and they freak out sometimes. This was like nothing, no phone, no light, like all on my own. And I will be honest, I did not make it 10 days. I made it 7 days. I made it exactly a week. And I felt like I got what I needed to out of the experience. So the
Yeah.
rest of the days I had light and I was able to like make videos and like, I was still in the cave, but I was able to turn the light on. And that's the thing. There was a light switch there the whole time. I could have
Wow.
turned the
Okay.
light on.
Yeah.
I had the power. It was my choice. So it wasn't like, I don't know, solitary confinement or anything. When it's by choice, it just gives you a lot more power. So you don't feel scared about it. You can choose to change it. You can choose to open the door. It wasn't locked. It was, like you
You're
can
not
choose.
imprisoned.
Right. You have the power, but I knew that I needed to be there and I got the answers that I wanted. I went there to connect with Emberly even deeper. At that point, I had finished the book like 4 months after she died. Like within 4 months, we wrote the whole thing.
Wow. Okay.
And then I just kind of put it on the back burner. I knew it was amazing. I knew it was going to change lives, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know when to do it. And I felt almost just too much fear about publishing it because it was so vulnerable. Like
Yeah.
every thought and every question I've ever had is all in there for people to just, see my soul.
Yes. You're bare
And
with your soul doing this, aren't you? And I can imagine. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a
Well,
lot of fear there. And Emberly, even though she's taught me over and over in the book these different principles, like never fear anything again. Like fear is a waste of your time. Like
I love that.
fear holds you back. It can be your greatest teacher, and it can be your friend. So befriend fear instead of fearing fear. And that's a lesson I'm still learning to embody. Like a lot of the things in the book are things that I'm still trying to embody. But they're amazing. But anyway, in the dark room, I asked her about the title and I was like, what about returning to all that is, or return to all that is? And it took 4 days of darkness and complete silence or whatever to get anything anything from her.
Wow.
And that was really hard. And I only got this one really strong communication from her, and I didn't get a visit or anything. It was, I just always have it kind of more like a mental like voice that I can hear, and I was able to write down and take notes even though it was pitch black. Like I figured out a way that I was taking notes every single day whenever things will come up. But anyway, she said, you cannot return to all that is. You are now, always have been, and always will be an intricate part of all that is. There's no returning. You simply need to remember. And then she said, call the book Remember All That Is and highlight the ember, because we had named her Emberly, partly because an ember is something that looks like it's separated from the fire, but when you have intention and you push air onto it and intention, it comes back to life and can start the full fire. And then she said, all that is the full fire.
Oh, wow.
Each of us is a little ember,
Mm.
a part of all that is. And when we forget, we feel like that ember, we feel separated, we feel dead, we look dead sometimes. But when we remember who we are and remember all that is and our intricate part there, we come fully back to life.
I have so many chills as you are saying this. It's like utter confirmation to me that, yes, oh,
Yeah.
remember all. Is it, remember? I want to remember all that is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I have I have chills.
Every time I've told that to people, they get chills
Yeah,
because
because it's
it just
confirmation.
confirms, that this is something. My husband, he wrote the forward to the book. And one of the favorite things that one of his favorite lines in his forward was something towards the end. And he's like, Nicole's an amazing person and I love her and she's very smart and intelligent, but she's not that original in her thinking. And when she started sharing these conversations with me, I knew it wasn't from her.
Oh, it's amazing that you've been able to laugh through some of this as well. Like there must have been some obviously very dark times, but it sounds like you've also been able to find joy
Oh,
working
you
through
know
this
what?
as well.
We did an index at the back of the book so people can look up just topics if they don't have time to read through the whole thing or whatever. And I was looking through it the other day and I've got this big old chunk of fear where like it says page numbers of where fear shows up. And then I've got an even bigger chunk of fun because Emberly has said, focus on the fun.
Yes,
Make it fun, mom. Enjoy your human experience. It's not
yes.
going to be that long, you know,
Oh, she's
like enjoy
incredible.
the time.
Yeah, she's
And her middle
amazing.
name is Joy.
Yes, yes.
So
Wow.
that's what she wants me to focus on.
Nichole, this book I feel is going to be massive. It's going to reach millions of people that need to read this book. I feel that.
Yeah.
Um, I really do. What is the next step? What is the next step for you and the book, and how do you see it growing?
You know, I've been trying really hard not to focus on the how because
Sure.
it's overwhelming
Yes.
and just taking the next step that I feel a nudge to right now, you know, this moment, this present day. So right now I'm ordering copies of it for beta readers. I've sent some email PDFs for different readers and I'm going to hold it in my hands by next week. I'm
Oh my
super
gosh.
excited.
Yes.
I will be holding the book in my hands and this was another really cool experience. I was not going to focus on the book. Even after I got the title, like it was still something that I had on the back burner. Like I'll do that in a little while, like later, because I want to focus on making money right now. And I was focused on my art, which is another thing that I came to after Emberly died. I became an artist and art therapy has been major. And I've created some courses on how to create geodes and ocean art. And I was pushing those. And so I signed up for this marketing course and I went to San Diego for this mastermind about how to market it. And while I was there, I just could not figure out how to sell these courses. Like it just wasn't clicking. And every time I talked to one of the coaches there, they were like, yeah, I don't know how to help you. Like it just was like, they tell us to focus on our one red dot, like the one thing that we can do while we're there
Mm.
to make it, you know, go to the next level. And I could not figure out my red dot. The first whole day there, I was just like, I have no idea. And the second day I was like, I still have no idea, even with talking to like 7 different coaches and the CEO. And then that night I went to a dinner that was for the whole group. There was like 30 or 40 of us there. And one of the CEOs said, um, she had been there for like half an hour, 40 minutes, waiting just to see where she was supposed to sit. She said she went with intention to know where to sit and when to sit down and who to sit by. And she said all the tables were almost all the way filled. There was like 1 or 2 seats in every single one that were empty. And then she just kept feeling like, no, no, no. And then I walked in the room and she said, yes, wherever she sits, I'm sitting next to her.
Wow.
And it happened to be next to another guy that I wanted to meet who was a psychic medium and had
Mm.
written a book and had major success with his book. So it's all just aligned. And in that conversation with them, I told them the story about the dark room and naming the book. I asked them about my art course and they were like, why are you even thinking about your art? They were like, you were like literally inches from gold on this
Yeah.
story with your daughter and you need to focus on that. So I
Yeah.
got a new focus. And then that night, I kid you not, that night I went home and I had posted earlier that day or the day before in a Facebook group asking for help, like selling my art. Cause I had over 1,000 people on my website and not one sale. And I was like, I'm not understanding like what to do here. And this lady reached out to me and she said, I don't know why it's not your art, but I need to invite you to this business conference I'm hosting on 4/22/22, which is
Okay.
literally like a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, I've been traveling a lot and I don't like to travel. And I was kind of like, "Ah." But I was like, okay, well, what's it about? And then that night I went to sleep, and I texted her right before I went to bed. And I woke up at 2:22 a.m.
Oh,
to use
wow.
the bathroom. And
Yes.
then I woke up at 6 in the morning and looked at my phone, and I had received a message at 11:11 p.m. and 4:44 a.m. And all these angel numbers were just like
Yeah.
piling up. And I was like,
Yeah.
what in the world? And then I got the message back from this lady, saying the business conference is for women who are in business, and the headline speaker is Gabrielle Bernstein, and I know I'm
Mm.
supposed to introduce you to her. That's what
Wow.
I feel. She's like, I'm very intuitive and I feel very much a nudge that I'm supposed to introduce you to her. And for people who don't know Gabrielle Bernstein, she's like
Massive
a
author.
major, powerful speaker and healer and spiritual guru. She calls herself, the spiritual guru. Like, she has spirit junkies, and she's written so many New York Times bestsellers. And so my next step is to give her the book.
Yes.
That's all I know.
And that's all we
So
need to know, isn't it? On this journey, sometimes some people, like you said, some people are so fixated on, like, if you got so fixated on the whole journey and where that was going, like you said, some people can just stay very stuck because it feels so overwhelming. But like you said,
yeah,
if you can just focus on ask for, obviously you trust a lot and to follow guidance and listen to your intuition. And if you can just trust, take that next step and that next step and that next step, and know that the bigger picture is going to come together if you trust and if you take those steps. You kind of don't need to worry about the massive how, because that's kind of sorted, and
yep,
that will all unfold. So
exactly.
I can't wait. I can't wait to read this book. I can't wait for it to get out there in the world. And what I will do is obviously share under here. Will there be somewhere where people can buy the book? Will there be somewhere where people can follow you until that point for when it's released? Do you have I think you have
Yes,
a
I
link,
have
don't you? A
I have a
pre-order.
link that I can give you.
Sure.
I don't remember the name of it right now, or I just
That's
found it
fine.
out.
We'll put that in the
But
comments.
it's
Yes.
basically a sneak peek into the book. I give 2 pages worth of quotes from it. I give
Yes.
part of my journal entry, and I give a conversation that
Perfect.
when they can pre-order or when they can order the book.
I lost you a moment. I lost connection, but it gives information on how people can pre-order as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Nichole, this has been wonderful. And there's just one other thing I would love to ask you. If people are going through a hard time right now, whether it is grief or whether they're struggling in their life, whether they're feeling stuck, um, and they're at that point, like, they don't know what to do, how to get out of it. Is there anything that you could share with them right now? One little thing that would maybe just help them move forwards from this difficult time that they are having right now, or what Emberly might say about this?
Yes. Thank you for that question. I would definitely say allow your feelings, all of them, without resistance or without judgment. Allow them to flow through you so that they can be felt at a soul level, because our souls actually crave the contrast. They want to feel fear. They want to feel pain. They want to struggle and feel suffering. And when we allow that without resisting it, without numbing it, hiding from it, throwing it under a rug, but embrace it. Emberly has told me to embrace my negative feelings, the ones that I would label as bad or want to run away from. Embrace them and treat them like an orphan, because I love orphans. And treat them like somebody that is an abandoned child, and with so much love and attention and affection, and allow them to be there
Wow.
without judgment.
I can't tell you how many tingles are going through my body right now. And I knew that I needed to ask that question because I feel that there are some people who needed to hear exactly what you, and I love that. I very much talk about that, allowing all your feelings to be really felt rather than burying the fear or burying the anxiety or burying the grief. The more you can begin to allow yourself to feel all of it, the more it can move on. It doesn't want to stay stuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
And two things about that. Anytime you're feeling like you should be better than where you are,
Mm.
when you're shooting on yourself, immediately say, oh, this is a chance for me to feel right now these feelings fully without cutting them short or without judging them. And then the next thing I would say is our emotions don't last very long. It's actually scientifically proven that 90 seconds is all you need to fully feel that feeling. 90 seconds,
Not
okay?
that long.
And we're like spending years, most of us, years hiding from that 90 seconds.
Yep.
And that
Very
doesn't
good.
mean it's not
Yes.
going to return and that
Yes,
it's going to come
absolutely.
back, but allow yourself to just feel for 90 seconds all that pain, all that fear, all the anguish and whatever within, and let it flow through you and out of you. And you'll feel so much lighter and so much happier, and your joy will return.
Nichole, thank you. I know there were many people who needed to hear that right now. I can see you. I can see you on stage talking about this. Just so you know where I can see you going with this as well. I can see it for you. It's from such a tragic, obviously tragic story. Beautiful things are blossoming because of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing with everyone. Thank you for your time. It's been a real honor, real pleasure. And I have taken so much from just listening to this as well. So thank you. And I will, like you said, I will share all your information so people can reach out to you, where they can find, where they can pre-order your book, how they can reach out to you, because I feel many people will want to read it. Thank you, Nichole.
Oh, thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you.